Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast, where real students are doing real deals in the world of multifamily real estate. I'm Vince Gethings, the owner of the Wheelwell Profits Academy. Listen in as we dive into the journeys of driven individuals who are turning their dreams into reality. These people are just like you, taking action and making things happen. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and if you're ready to take action, check us out at wheelwellprofits.com to learn more about our incredible community. Let's get started.
This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of make it happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbara, co-founder of Jake and Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director of Jake and Gino. Josh, how are you doing today, bro?
Gino, you know what, man? I'm feeling good. I got a haircut yesterday. Look good, feel good, do good. And I'm excited. We have a ton of upcoming events. You know, we have the Manage Right coming up next month in Knoxville. Then we have a Money Mixer in Omaha, and we have a Buy Right Bootcamp in Jacksonville, Florida. And then we're bringing it home with Multifamily Mastery 4. So just getting to see my favorite people in the Jake and Gino community. Gino, what's going on with you, my friend?
Well, Josh, we closed on 85 units a couple of weeks ago. We're going to get 50 units on the contract now. It's the small deals. The small deals are going to make us rich, right? When it gets back to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for, Josh? When times stabilize a little bit. Right now, the real meat, the real value is in these smaller deals because these private equities and all these big companies are going for these 100 units plus, and they're getting pushed. Those cap rates are really compressed a lot. So everyone out there, doesn't matter about the size. It matters about the quality of the deal. That's the important thing. I think we get into the ego and saying, I just closed an 150 unit deal. I'd rather buy a 30 or 40 unit deal that's crushing it and cash flowing like crazy, and I'd be able to refi that deal. So think big, start small. And as far as our students, we're over 16,000 units, over $1 billion closed with our students. It's amazing, the growth that we've had in the last 3 or 4 years. And it all comes from the coaches, it comes from, the students themselves, it comes from the community. And that's what we've built at Jake and Gino. So these two students today are going to testify to the growth and, to what they've learned and why multifamily. This is all about multifamily and not the shiny object syndrome. So Josh, take it away, my friend.
Gino, love it, man. Speaking of that, we're firing on all cylinders, but I want to cover today's guests. So today we're lucky to be joined by Ace Karimi and Akam Ahmedi. So together, they co-founded Invest Holdings, a real estate investment firm that is dedicated to buying A and B apartments that provide double-digit returns to investors. Before doing apartments, Ace and AK partnered on wholesaling and flips, completing over 90 transactions, creating over $2 million in fees and flips. Without further ado, welcome to the show, gentlemen.
What's going on, guys?
Good to be here. Thank
Glad
you, Josh, for having us.
Yeah, excited to have both of you here. So, all right, so let's talk about this. First off, you guys partnered. How did you meet? How did you decide to form a business together, and why real estate?
Ace?
Good story. I'll take this one. So Akam and I actually met in college. We both went to James Madison University in Virginia. It's down in Harrisonburg, so it's right by the Shenandoah Valley. Beautiful area. Love the college. Akam was there for 4 years. I transferred in from a community college. We were both in the same scholarship program, and we had some mutual friends that kind of introduced us. And as the years went by, right, we started connecting a little bit more, talking about business and ideas, especially his last year because he was like a year above me. And then right before he graduated, we talked about doing business together. And I knew he was entrepreneurial. I was entrepreneurial. 2 college students, right, who are over here trying to get degrees, still have that entrepreneurial spirit. So it's still possible for anybody who's in that same situation. And then we graduated. I went straight into business, started a marketing business, took a lot of L's, I would say, in my first couple of businesses, similar to Akam as well. And then we got into real estate. We came across wholesaling. And we, said, hey, why not? Let's give this a try. We already have the background in marketing. We know how to find these properties. We know how to find these assets that are kind of distressed, need some work. Let's give ourselves a shot and let's do it for ourselves instead of for other people. And so we ended up getting our first wholesale deal done. It was a single family property in DC here, where we're based at, right outside of DC. We made $25K, which was huge for us. You know what I mean? Imagine not making any money and your first check is $25,000. Just changes everything, of what's possible. And we reinvested all of it back into the business. I think we only paid ourselves like $1,000 each, put more money into more marketing. And then we just consistently started wholesaling and flipping properties for like 2-3 years up until last year, where we made a complete pivot after COVID hit, actually, which is very interesting. We completely pivoted, full time into multifamily. We're like, hey, look, this is our opportunity now to do what we always wanted to do, right? We always wanted to own real estate, to own properties that appreciate over time and they spit cash flow. And so, you can't do that when you're wholesaling and flipping all the time, right? And those taxes are not helpful, right? You're going to get hit at big taxes because you're pretty much selling every time. And if you actually do even the flipping and the wholesaling and you're buying at the same time, it actually helps, right? Because it can offset the taxes that you pay because of the depreciation that you can write off. But so that's what we did last year. We pivoted full time into multifamily. We did our first deal, 72 units, closed in December here in our home state in Virginia. Great property, we love it. We're almost done with our CapEx. And without really kind of spilling everything, I'll let my partner Akam here introduce anything else, but that's where we're at right now. We got a couple hundred units under contract. We're moving and shaking, and we're ready to, take this to the moon and take our investors to places that, they always wanted to be with their returns.
So Akam, before you answer any of those questions, what was college like for you too? I mean, it's a tough question to answer. Was it really worth going to college for 4 years and going to the degree other than the experience? But what did you learn in college that prepared you for the business world?
I learned to have fun for sure, but I would definitely say, you get to meet people, right? Networking was huge. A lot of the people that I knew in college, there were some that took it seriously, but a lot of them just like to have fun. They got good grades, they did their thing. It was definitely worth it. When I look back in hindsight, it was worth it for me. I ended up getting a full ride, thankfully. And so that was huge. So for me, I'd say it was worth it because I learned, I got the fun out of the way. I learned a lot about myself, being on my own. And just getting to know other people and where their backgrounds, where they come from. A lot of the kids that were there actually were very wealthy. They come from wealthier backgrounds. So I didn't have that, but it was worth it because, it was paid for and I wouldn't take it back. However, if I had to pay for it, I know that the very first semester I would have looked at my phone or the financial aid account, and I would have saw -10, -15,000, and I would have dropped out. That's me personally. And that's just because I for what I'm trying to do, always known that I wanted to be in business. It wouldn't really make sense to go to business school just to get a degree if I know I just need to jump into business. I don't believe in debt, or I do believe in debt, the right kind of debt, but I don't believe in that kind of debt. If you're trying to be like a doctor or something, that's completely different. I don't want to sway you away. But if you're getting into business, I really don't believe that college is the way.
Well, I just joined Jake and Gino, number one. But number two, AK, I was going to say that Ace was the smart one because he went to junior college for 2 years and then transferred in. But crap, you just blew my narrative. You're the smart guy. You got the full ride. So just listen to what he said, everybody. That's truly important. He did a financial analysis. If he's getting it for free and he doesn't have to pay for it, 4 years is great. You're going to get a degree. You're going to learn something. And it's all about the networking. It's about community, right? Just like the Jake and Gino community. James Madison, they have their own community. You're networking, you're learning, you're experiencing that. But there's a cost to it. Do a cost-benefit analysis. Is it worth it? If it's not worth it, I think AK would have just gone, jumped in and found the mentor and done the business thing. So that's enlightening. I think that's how everyone has to really view it. Is it worth the expenditure? First of all, the opportunity cost of not making money for 4 years. The second thing, how much is it going to cost you to actually do it? And the third thing, you may learn some stuff that you really shouldn't be learning in college, right? I mean, just saying, if you're in the business, if you're doing business, great, but just be careful and make that analysis because nothing is free in life, right? You got to go in there. And I love the fact that you said that, hey, I see that debt and it's really personal versus business debt. I love that analysis that you make. So when you guys got out of college, why real estate? I mean, first, what was the big draw with real estate?
So, me personally, I did jump right into real estate. Well, funny thing is, my first job was actually a tax credit consultant for real estate investors. So, buying up old, developers that would buy up old properties that have, historic aspects to them. We would go in there and work with them. They would have to preserve the historic aspects, and they would get that 25% national historic tax credits. And they would just have to hold it for 5 years. And then on the other side, of course, the investors get the tax credits. They purchase the tax credits and save their taxes. So I did that for 4 months. The problem was when I moved up to DC, I was about an hour and a half away from the office. So every day I'd be in traffic, 2.5, 3 hours. It just wasn't it. So I was like, I'm going to quit. I had great rent at the time, $300 a month. And, my boss was just like, hey, why don't you move closer? Rents were like $2,000 a month. And that was more than half my paycheck at the time. So ended up just saying, forget this, and then jumped into marketing with Ace, started a marketing business, and we just went from there. When marketing didn't work out for us, we didn't have the best mentors and guidance. That's when we got into real estate. And why real estate? It just made the most sense, right? Like we both knew we wanted to do real estate at some point of our lives, but why not now? We had met an individual in the wholesaling space, a very young individual, younger than us at the time. And at the time we were 23. And he, helped us set up systems, put $5,000 on a credit card to get the system set up by him, and then another $5,000 for marketing. And that's how we got our start to make our first 25 grand. Mind you, we did this all on credit cards, but that's okay, right? Like you'll do whatever it takes to win. But real estate it was very clear, right? It's very clear cut. It's like, you market, you get the deal. The numbers are pretty straightforward if you know how to analyze deals and neighborhoods. And then, you close. So to me, it was very straightforward. I didn't need to go start a big business. I could just do one deal at a time. Ace could do one deal at a time. And that's really how it started.
That's awesome. And Ace, what did you learn about? You said something at the beginning that caught my attention. What did you learn about that marketing business? Because all businesses are really interconnected. If you look at one business, you could see the lens through another business. And what did you learn from that marketing?
Yeah, marketing is really just a initial vehicle to generate leads, to generate opportunities, right? So in order for sales to have something to close, marketing needs to do its job, right? So they go hand in hand. It's like a marriage. And they're really like the oxygen of a business, in my opinion, right? You need to get that marketing down, find a way to consistently generate leads and opportunities for your business.
When was the aha moment for both of you? If you want to share it with me, that wholesaling is great. I mean, that paycheck coming in, you said 25 grand on that first deal. I mean, that's a lot of money when you're, by the way, you guys are 27 years old. Josh didn't even mention that. So, I mean, it's amazing, right? Two things, everybody listening. I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody listening to this because they jumped in during COVID, right? So that's number one. You can't make that excuse. And number two, you can't say you're too young because these guys are 26 when they jumped into the whole multifamily full time. So those excuses are off the table for the rest of the show. But what was your aha moment and like why multifamily? Because everyone's telling you out there you're crazy, you need a ton of money, blah blah. What was that epiphany moment for you guys?
Good question. It's a good question, Gino.
Specifically last year, I mean, it was right when COVID did hit. That's the funny thing. It was like it was a moment for us to like take a step back because we're so much into the trees at the time, right? We were kind of doing two things. We were still doing the single family stuff. That was our main business, right? Because we had an office, we had employees, and we were spending a lot of money on marketing. And then we were trying to kind of, I guess, nudge the multifamily in, just do like kind of 20% of it on the side whenever we had time. But that's what we really wanted, And then it was actually when COVID hit and we had to like lock down our office space. Like me and him sat down one day and we looked at each other and we're like, hey, like, what do we really want to do? Like, let's really look at this. Let's really examine where we at. We took like 3 steps back, saw the trees from the forest, and we're like, dude, what we really want is to own apartment deals and own real estate, because that's when you're getting the most benefit, right? Is when you're owning it, right? You get the triple whammy, you get the appreciation, you get the cash flow, right? You get the tax write-offs. I mean, I almost couldn't believe that we were going any other route. And it was in that moment, I feel like when we were discussing it, we're like, hey, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's jump in. Whatever it takes, we're going to figure it out, right? Like, let's just jump ship, go right into it. And obviously, we had some income on the side set so that we could pay all of our expenses. So it wasn't like completely, I would say, irresponsible, but, we're very ambitious, right? And we know what we want. And for us, the aha moment is like, hey, look, like, we want the long-term benefits of real estate, but we need to start now.
Yeah, I love that. AK, can you add anything to that?
Yeah. So about 8 months before that, I was just sitting there at my desk in our wholesaling business, just thinking, and before like I went to any sort of like multifamily events at all or anything like that, either of us. And I was just in there thinking, looking around the office, and I was like, this is not it. Like I'm seeing Ace like train our team, putting his heart and soul into training, and like these guys just aren't getting it. And I'm like, man, he's putting a lot of effort. He's got a lot of skill, a lot of effort into training these guys, and they're just not, some of them got it, but most of them didn't. And so there are a lot of variables in play. And I'm just like, do I really want to be running a wholesale business, 2-3 years from now? Like I dreaded it. I didn't like going to work in the morning. And here I was as an entrepreneur saying that. So that was a problem in and of itself. And Ace could testify to that. Like he could tell my heart wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. And so that's when, we started looking into multifamily, and I came across some multifamily material. And that's really, I would say the aha moment was months after that when we fully committed, but that was the moment where it started. Like we had to find another vehicle in this real estate space that's not wholesaling and not transactional. And multifamily was like, I wouldn't say the easiest step up. There's some other asset classes that are much easier, but multifamily was just simple, right? You're going from residential to larger residential. Mm-hmm. So it just made the most sense.
Do you guys mind if I share my story real quick?
Please.
So I don't really told this to a lot of people. I said it at one event, I think, but just picture and imagine this. It's I think right around 2010, 2011. It's a Friday night. It's like 8:00 at night in New York. I'm in my parking lot. There's hailing and there's snow. It's like 6 inches of snow. I go through another week of not making money. I'm throwing salt in the parking lot. And as everyone knows, I'd rather have it 98 degrees and hot and humid than 28 degrees. So I don't have any gloves on. I got calcium all over my hands. I'm pissed, man. I'm like, this sucks. Another week. I'm not making any money. And my mom owns the building, the restaurant. So I'm shoveling it another 8 hours, 9-hour day, 10-hour day, not making money. And I look up and she has 3 apartments above the restaurant. And I see the light on one of the apartments. And I'm like, she's getting paid because apartment owners get paid in their sleep. Yeah. And she's home. And that resident at the end of the month is paying the bills. And I'm here another week and I'm not getting paid. That's when the light bulb went off. I'm like, man, I want to own these buildings. I want to be able to create that lifestyle. And for me, that's what multifamily allowed me to do. It allowed me to say, okay, and starting out small with a 25 unit, you have 25 residents paying the mortgage, having a little bit cash flow left over. And that's what it was all about for me. I'm like, man, if she can do it and she's an immigrant and she figured it out, what's holding me back? Right. So for you guys, what I love, what you said, AK, the transactions are great. We need money to pay the bills, right? That's what you want. But if you get stuck in that transaction hamster wheel, it's really hard to create that passive income. And that's what the passive income is all about with multifamily. You're still going to create as a business. There's still going to be transactions by buying and selling these apartments, but you're still going to hold your core assets and be able to cash flow. So as I'm sitting out there throwing the salt, I'm like, that's it. And, as everyone's listening to this, think about what your epiphany, your aha moment is. If you haven't had one right now, do some soul searching. Now's the time to step back, see what you want in your life. I mean, what the goals are, what you want to accomplish, what you're looking to do. And I guarantee you, it will hit you like a ton of bricks, whether post-COVID, during whatever. Just stop and think about it. Because sometimes, like Ace said, if you don't step back and look, I guess, the trees from the forest, if you don't have that moment, you'll never come to those conclusions in life. And it's important you do that. So Ace and AK, what were your challenges before joining Jake and Gino about multifamily? Because now that you've said I'm all in, I mean, it's daunting. You're both 25, 26 years old. I mean, what were you up against? What were those stuck points before joining the community?
I'll start this one off. I would say, we had a fair understanding, like we understood how it worked. Mm-hmm. I think for us, we have a marketing background and sales background, so the acquisitions wasn't an issue. But I think what we took a ton away from your content, guys. And not personally, not the YouTube stuff, but like I'm talking about when we joined your program, and that program, we actually spent a month and watched Buy Right, Manage Right, Finance Right, or I forget what the 3 sayings are, but we watched all 3 of them twice in a month while we were taking action. And I can honestly say, and I'm not just saying this, but like I can honestly say, you guys, like that was great content because we learned so much through that. And we're like, whoa, like I feel like we learned almost everything. Obviously, you got to go implement because it's completely different when you go implement. But the concept stuck with us, and because of the content that we watched over and over again, we actually got better when we're talking to individuals, professionals in the space, and sellers, and property managers. So that really helped us like leap that knowledge curve so we could have those sophisticated conversations and people could take us seriously since we had no units.
That's awesome. And you're, like I said, you're 26 and 27 years old, but if you can learn how to speak the lingo and you're prepared and you know the market and you know what cap rates are and you know all those things, and you can have intelligent conversations, no one's going to ask you for proof of funds. They don't do that because they know you're serious, right? That's the scary thing. You don't know what you don't know, right? When you know that stuff, you can have that conversation. Ace, hit me. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely say AK hit it on a nail there, because your guys' education, I mean, like, you guys really get it, right? You guys are actual players who actually have experience, who are actually doing it. And the way you explained it, Gino, you and Jake, right? I mean, we got your Udemy course, like literally like a year and a half back. It was like, what, like 10, $20 or something. And it was talking about mom and pop apartments. And like the second I heard it and I watched the first video, I'm like, wow, this makes sense. I was like, it's the same thing as it is in a single family space, right? The way you guys broke it down, right? The income approach, like, I love the way you guys teach, right? You make it very simple to understand. And, you know, you helped get us educated into the apartment space. And, you know, I'll always give that credit to Jake and Gino, right? I mean, we absorbed all the information the second we got into the program. You guys had, you know, some already courses up for us, right? The wheelbarrow profits, the syndication formulation course, the underwriting, right? We literally absorbed, like, you know, we just sit there for like 4 or 5 hours a day and just listen to it together. And we just take notes and we talk about it.
That's
because
awesome.
we really wanted to just get it all soaked in. And it was a lot at first, but literally imagine just a few months. I mean, you're locked down anyway. You just learn. And so that's what we were doing. We were just learning and taking action. And I mean, we were very ambitious, but your guys' education was spot on, man. I'd highly recommend it to anybody.
That's right. Education times action equals results, right? You guys can get massively educated and not take any action. You have to couple both of those. So how did you find the first 72 unit deal? How did that come about? Let's talk a little bit about that deal, because 72 units on your first deal, that's really, really impressive. It took Jake and I 18 months to find our first 25 unit deal. So can you guys break down that first deal, how you found it, what the benefits were? And you guys have already said you've already probably implemented most of your business plan. So I'd love to hear it.
Ace.
Yeah, so here we'll both tell this story because it's, you know, we were both involved from the beginning to the end. It's a very, very crazy story, but we'll try to make it brief. So it was an older individual in his 90s, actually, believe it or not. And we caught him at a moment in time where he was in an assisted living facility, I believe. Great guy, by the way. You know, we had a conversation with him over the phone, introduced ourselves, so we're buying apartments. And, you know, initially he wasn't really too interested, right? He was like, yeah, he's been thinking about it. He's been considering it. And, you know, he wasn't really so decisive. So we sent an offer anyway. We're like, you know what? It doesn't hurt. We'll just send out an LOI for a number that we felt safe at. 72 units, we sent an offer at 3 million, which, I mean, it would have priced for like 5 million that day of. That's one thing we didn't know, you know. So we sent out, figured that we felt comfortable, and we're like, yeah, what are the chances he even gets back to us? We'd never know. The next day, his attorney emails us back, and he said, hey, look, I shared it to him. If you could do it at 3.75, we have a deal. So he countered us, right? And it was the same attorney who was telling us the whole time, this guy is never going to sell. He developed it. He's not a seller. You're wasting your time. He told us the first time we spoke to him to try to kind of dissuade us from putting an offer in. But we put the offer in anyway. And then when the seller got back to us, we're like, okay, awesome. We got this. This is awesome. Let's run the numbers. Initially, we were trying to negotiate further. We tried to be like, hey, meet us in the middle. We didn't want to just give him that number back. But in the end, it was great. So we signed the LOI. And then that's when actual things started getting interesting, because that's when the real, I guess, ups and downs happened. Akam, what happened after we got the LOI signed and we think we're about to get this amazing deal and no problems are about to get in our way?
LOI signed, and we're going to PSA, and they're just non-responsive. And then we get hit with the email saying that, hey, look, they're not like, he's not selling. And so we're just kind of thrown aback by it. And then for the following 2.5 months, we just kept following up with him every other day, 2 days. He just kept saying the same thing. Like, I'm not selling, you know, I'm not finished with the work on the property, blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind, the guy's 97. And if you call him past 11 a.m., he gets very grumpy. So I completely understand. So like, you know, we just kept following up, and there was the call, the second to last call before we actually got him to commit. I told him something like, I was like, Lewis, I was like, look, I don't mind that you don't want to do the deal. That's not the issue here. I've already put in my team's time and resources, I've evaluated the property. I drove down to the property. Like, I'm fully committed here. And it's not just me involved in my capital. Now you're talking about other people's time. I just don't appreciate, you wasting the time. I'm not mad at you, but that's just not fair to us. And then he understood. He actually got off the call, as an older guy. He was just like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then we called him again probably a week later, and we were just like, hey, look, what's the issue here? You don't need to finish up cleaning or finish up fixing the property. We'll do that. It's the whole point. We don't want you to do that. And I just remember on the call, I think the way it went down, I was like, hey, look, tell your attorney that you're ready to sell at this price, 3.75. Give him a call, and I'll call you back in 15 minutes. Can you do that for him? And he was like, yeah. I was like, great. So I call him back in 15 minutes. But you call your attorney. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. I'll talk to you in 10 minutes. I'm gonna call your attorney. And called his attorney. I was like, hey, send over the PSA. He's ready to do business, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, great. So we got the PSA that day, and that's how it went down. But look, what we've noticed with sellers, whether it's residential or commercial, especially if it's mom and pop, is like, everyone's got their reserves, right? And it's like, you don't have to be pushy about it, but you actually have to do whatever it takes to get it done. You have to guide them to the water, and then take the water by your own hand and feed them, or help them drink the water. Yes. Like, that's how this game is played, especially when you're talking about older individuals. There's always some sort of emotional sentiment. Mm-hmm. And Gino, Josh, one thing that Ace knows, this seller kept telling us, he kept telling us like, hey, I'm about to die. Like, just straight up, just like that. I'm about to die. Like I could feel it. I know it's going to happen. And he kept saying that throughout the process, before the LOI was signed, and even during contract. And he just passed away, God bless his soul, 2 months ago. So it's just interesting how that all went down. But like, the guy definitely wanted to sell.
Do you guys mind if I share a few highlights from what you just said? Because it's important that I recap what you said, because it's very powerful. Number one, the boys hit up a mom and pop seller. There was motivation. In the SPY technique, it's seller property you. The seller, you could be the best deal in the world for you, but if the seller doesn't have any motivation to sell, you're not going to get a deal. It's that important, everybody. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is what Josh has taught me, because Josh is an amazing salesperson, you have to hit the decision maker. Right? I mean, the lawyer was not the decision maker. You're speaking to the lawyer. Speak to the owner, right? That's important. You need to speak to the person who's in charge. And you know what? We've gone through this countless times. That person, Lewis, may have had a brother involved as well. So maybe he's not the decision maker. Make sure you're speaking to the decision maker. That's really, really important. The third one, put in an offer. Don't be afraid. And if you want to be really, as we like to say, ballsy, shoot over a PSA on top of that. Right? If you want to get right to it and really show that you're really serious about it, that's really important. Put in an offer.
Ding, ding.
Yes. Huge the next point. One, huge. The next one is to follow up, which is even more important. You guys were probably haranguing him for 3 months, but that's okay, because that's what it takes to be successful in life. Most people would have quit off the CRM, deal dead. No, deal never dead until deal sold or something happens to it. That deal is never dead. Continue to follow up. And the final thing, what you did was a Chris Voss technique, which is called the accusation audit. You pulled out all the stops and said, hey, Lewis, you know what? I love the deal, but I'm going to accuse you of a few things. This is not going really well. I've wasted my time. I've wasted my effort. I've given this my all. I've wasted capital, resources. And Lewis, of all people, the time is the most precious asset we have on this planet. And I've wasted a lot of it. And I think he probably went back and reflected upon it and was like, you know what? They're right. So that was an amazing technique that you use. Because when you're analyzing deals, it's always great to say, hey, I love this deal at all, but let me give you a few bad things. So you reset the seller's frame of reference by going, hey, those circuit breakers panels aren't great. You need a lot of work on the landscaping. The roofs are collapsing, but I still want the deal. So then all of a sudden that frame is shifted. So all of a sudden Lewis probably realized that, he wasn't playing fair. He was jerking around a little bit. And then all of a sudden things got serious. And it is, everybody. It's an emotional thing. He's built this property, his life. It's his legacy. Let's treat it like that, because it's important you do that. Don't disrespect his legacy. But what you're trying to do is trying to consummate a deal and close a deal and try to give him fair market value for that asset. So doing all those steps, mom and pop, decision maker, putting the offer, which, I like that. The Akam says that's one of the most important things, putting those offers, right? Follow up And number 5, that accusation audit, that leads to success. That leads to your first deal. Now, tell me, why did you love the deal? What made this deal fantastic for you guys?
Damn, we love this deal.
It's a beautiful property, Gino. Like if you go there yourself, anybody who's actually gone there, it's like sitting on top of a hill, and you get this incredible view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we renamed it the View at 777. It's because it's on 777 Boulevard. And that's another thing, by the way, right? When we originally saw the address for this property, it literally was 777 Roanoke Boulevard. And we're like, ding, 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 jackpot, right?
Marketers, that's what I like to see. You're marketing, bro.
I was like, there was something about it. We just knew it felt right. Everything about the deal felt right. The numbers looked good. Like we didn't even really deep dive the numbers too much. Like we just knew like this property is a deal, right? Yes. Like we bought it at 50 a door, and in the market right now they're trading at 95 a door. So I mean, it's a lot of upside, but it's just got a good feel to it. There's a beautiful view. It's a good looking property, and the guy already did most of the major capex for us. He already redid all the windows, the roofs, rejetted the plumbing. I mean, It's crazy, right?
And then, so what is your strategy with the property? You guys gonna continue to run the property, maybe refi and roll the property out, and continue to manage the property?
Refi and hold, baby.
Wow.
So we when we refi, Gino and Josh, we'll be able to pay all of our investors' capital back. So we'll be in the money with we'll be in the deal with no money. We'll have about 500 to 600,000 in refinance proceeds that we can share with our investors as well, and then we're gonna hold the property for a good 10 years.
And you're going to cost segregate the property. You guys are going to wipe off all of your, wow, that is awesome. Let me ask you, how does that feel? How does that make you guys feel within 18 months of even having that epiphany to like, I'm going to have a deal that's refinanced out, probably paying me between 7 and 10 grand a month in positive cash flow with no money in the deal? Give me the feeling of that.
Well, phenomenal. That's why we're here, right? Like we talk about like that aha moment. It's just like, man, I'm trying to build up my monthly cash flows. So is Ace. Like we're trying to, our ultimate goal is making $120K a month each in income from these apartment complexes. So, we know we're going for it, but for this specific property, I think it's a great first property, and knowing that you're going to make 5,000 to 7,000 somewhat passively is insane.
That's awesome. And Ace, hit me. How does it feel, bro? I mean, nice sunshine there. You got a new apartment going on. You got the beats around. You're looking good, bro.
I'm in a good place, Gino. I appreciate you a lot, and you and Josh both, man. It feels amazing, man. I'll tell you that right now. It's actually more so about playing the game that we love. The results are just byproducts, right? They're lagging indicators of the actions you take, right? Like I believe in always in the lead indicators, not to look at the lag ones, right? Because hey, as long as we're in a good state right now, like Akam and I are, we're consistently taking action, right? We got another couple hundred units under contract right now that we're moving on due diligence, and we're about to start a raise. Hey, as long as we're in the game, we're playing, I'm happy, man. The results will naturally come themselves.
That's awesome. Last long answer question. If I'm out there sitting on the sidelines and I'm wholesaling, I'm fixing and flipping, I'm doing, single, small residential multifamilies. I have 10 single family homes. What should I do to get into multifamily? Like seriously, what are my next steps to get into multifamily? Because if I'm 26 years old, like you two during COVID, and you both can do it, what do I need to do? What are the next steps that I need to take?
Yeah, a couple of things actually. Well, you already have a marketing business, right? That's a beautiful thing about wholesaling, right? You're already paying for leads. So just get more data. Because you can get small multifamily lists, right? 4 units, 8 units, 16 units, and they can be incredibly valuable, right? Because those you can also wholesale. Your checks will be a lot bigger, right? I mean, we wholesaled a couple apartment buildings our first year in wholesaling. We didn't even know what it was, and we made like 6-figure checks off of just those. And you could have reinvested those into buildings. So I would say is get more data and start looking at these smaller multifamily units, maybe up to 20, 30 units. And then start, getting a feel of the, the insight of the financials, and hiring a coach and a mentor, like Jake and Gino, right? Like, I think it's very doable because they're already actively looking for deals and properties, right? I think that data is a huge component, using their marketing dollars, spread it out a little bit more outside of just single family, and a lot of networking, man. If they could get on Facebook groups, go to, masterminds and meetups and things like that. It's very powerful because you can find deals from other people, and you can network.
Love that. AK?
I think he hit it right on the nail, to be honest. But I long story short, I would say educate yourself and put yourself around people that are doing deals that you want to do. So that way you can just start, taking in some of that energy, right? If I'm around Gino, I've never done a deal. You best believe I'm going to soak in some of that energy and get some deals. So I could give you the full breakdown, but I mean, Ace kind of did. Like you got to market. One thing I would throw in there to what Ace said is, I wouldn't get some wholesale acquisitions guy in there unless, you want to know, or at least know the lingo, like you said, because these guys know right away when you're talking to them, if you know what you're talking about immediately.
Yeah. Savvy. They're very savvy.
I love that. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created. Buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply.
All right, gentlemen, I got some short answer questions for you here. So Ace will have you answer first, AK second on these. So what is your best or favorite book you've ever read and why?
Oh man, that's such a good question. My best and favorite book that I ever read, man, it's a really good question because I have favorites as time goes along. I definitely think Think and Grow Rich. I mean, you can't go wrong with that book. I read it like at least 4 or 5 times. It got me initially started when I was like 14 years old. I read this book. And it just opened up my mind. Yeah, I was very young when I got into the, personal development space out of high school. Like I was just, and I read the book and the concepts fascinated me. And, I guess, I was open-minded enough to believe the actual concepts because a lot of people I try to explain it to were very closed off. They thought it was just kind of rah stuff. But I genuinely believed in the information in the book because, he himself studied the greats, the Edisons, the Carnegies, right? And I was like, I believe this. So that book kind of changed my life at a young age.
Man, I wish I'd read it when I was 14. I read it when I was like 35, man. I'm way older than you reading that book. I love that.
I got to give you a story on that one. So at one point in my life, I hired a leadership coach probably 5 years ago. And one of the things he had me do was read the second chapter in Think and Go Rich on desire every single freaking day. It was insane, like a month. So I love that book, man. It's ingrained in me somewhere.
It's one of the best books.
Definitely.
AK, let's hear it. Your favorite.
That is a tough question. There's so many good books. My two of my favorite authors are Napoleon Hill and Robert Greene. I'll take the other side and go Robert Greene. The Laws of Human Nature. I think a lot of us are book smart, and I think more of us could learn a lot more about. Some people call it street smarts, but also it's just common sense, but also human nature. Is so key. It's in everything that we do, whether we're building a business or, you're looking for your wife or your next husband. And so just understanding how people operate, how they think, the psychology behind certain things they do, the expressions they make and what they mean. That book is one of the best books ever written. I can confidently say that. I think everyone should read it, but it is a long read, so take your time with it.
Awesome. Love it. All right, what about best habit for success? Ace, kick us off, my man.
The best habit for success? Man, I'm a big mindset guy. I do a lot of self-work. I believe in getting a really good, positive outlook, right? I like to always train my mind, my body into believing that these goals are possible. And so I do a lot of kind of future, kind of vision board stuff. And so, for success, I think, having the right mindset and consistently training it and always nurturing it is key. And so, I like to do things like hit the gym, read books, write my goals, hold myself accountable towards them. I hope that answers the question, but that's what came to my mind.
No, that's good. Yeah. AK, let's hear it, my man.
For me, I think it's feeling good. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just like, like you got to feel good in everything you do. So one thing I was making a joke with Ace about like a month ago, I was like, I'm the only business I'm in is I'm in the business of feeling good. And so like, I think you can get any result you want if you feel good. I don't care how many great thoughts you have. If you're not feeling good, like you're not going to be pulled toward those thoughts. So that and taking action, like you got to do, right? You got to make things happen. And like when you start taking action, I noticed like things get a lot easier in a lot of ways. So for example, like I've been hitting the gym for quite a while now. And I've been neglecting my abs, right? And I started doing abs like a few weeks ago. And I remember I was dreading it. I put it off for weeks. And then I started doing it. Now it's become easier. And I thought of it today, actually, this morning at the gym. I was like, whoa, that I was not feeling this way about abs a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So taking action and feeling good, 2 very important keys.
I like that.
Love it, gentlemen. All right. So look, there's been some really good gold nuggets in this episode. And I got to say, there's 3 points that stand out to me that you guys helped create success. So you had 1 was clarity. You guys knew what you wanted. 2 is self-awareness, right? You're thinking, how can I be better? How can we do better? And not really caught up in the grind, but looking at the big picture. And then the last one is persistence, right? Nothing worth having comes easy. Mm-hmm. Gino, what do you got to add to that, my friend?
So you have Ace and AK, 2 young MIHers who meet at James Madison. I thought Ace was the smart one because I thought he transferred over, but I guess AK is a smarter one of the 2, right? He got the free ride. They both enjoy college.
Well, Gino, we both got on the same scholarship.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
That's how we met. Yeah. I got the transfer one. He came when he was a freshman. Yeah.
So you guys meet there, right? And you go on your separate ways after you graduate college, which is really cool. But then you get back together, you start a marketing business. The marketing business flounders. I mean, it's just, but the amazing thing that failure leads you to your success, because that's an important component of multifamily. You start a wholesaling business. You do over 90 deals, over a couple $1 million in transaction fees on that. And then you have your epiphany, your aha moment of saying, you know what? I need to start owning these assets. It's great trading, but I need to have equity, ownership, tax benefits, cash flow. And that's what leads you guys into the multifamily space. But you really going to find it difficult in doing it yourself, because you saw in the wholesaling business, hey, I hired a mentor. I invested in my education. That just dramatically increased my learning curve by that much. And I just shortened it by so much by doing that. You join the Jake and Gino community. You have your coaches, you have the community members, you have the weekly classes, you have the boot camps, all that helping you. But that can mean nothing for a lot of people. You 2 both did education and you took massive action. And within probably 8-9 months of being in the community, lock up a 72-unit deal, do it the right way, get an amazing deal, right? You have your buy right parameters set, you have your market set, and now you got a couple 100 units on the horizon able to close right now. So it's been an amazing journey, a short journey for 2 young guys. So there's no, like I said, excuses about having no experience, not credibility, not having any units, being too young, not having capital. All those were dispelled in this podcast for sure. And the sky's the limit for you guys. 120 grand a month for both of you going forward, piece of cake. Trust me. You keep doing what you're doing right now. You keep adding value to your investors. You keep adding value to yourself and to your partners. You are going to hit that goal. Seek to serve, my friends.
I would like to say one last thing. Jake and Gino, Josh, thanks for having us on. Your community is awesome. To say the least. We've learned so much from you guys, but also want to give a huge shout out to Vince in the Tri-City Equity Group, our partners, and our coach, believe it or not. They've also helped us tremendously in our, we're helping them scale, they're helping us scale. And it's the power of partnerships. Strategic partnerships.
It takes a team, my friend, right? It takes a tribe. You can't do it all alone. To get the 120 grand a month, you're going to need a lot of help. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that pie for most people is this small, but you guys know the pie is infinite. And even if you get a little piece of that pie, you're still going to make a lot more money if you have the pie all by yourself, and you're going to feel good doing it. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Ace and AK, how can the listeners get a hold of you?
How can they get a hold of us?
You can look us up on Facebook. My first name, Akam Ahmedi, or I guess my full name. And then Ace, I think, is your Ace Karimi.
Yeah. And on Instagram as well. Like, if add us on LinkedIn and Facebook, of course. And then where our handles on Instagram are ace.invest, and his is just AK invest.
And any emails? Anyone wants to shoot an email to you, get to know you guys?
Yeah, they can shoot it to me if you want. It don't matter.
What's your email address?
You could just do ace@investapts.com.
Perfect.
All right, gentlemen. Well, listen, I want to thank you for being amazing guests on the show and sharing your truly moving and shaking story. And guys, listen, if you like the show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a Movers and Shakers week. See you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, fellas. Thank you.